So we're brewing some of batch one of coffee that I roasted. Honestly, this one got pretty burnt, so first time learning a little bit. Roasted it on a cast iron skillet, and you get some inconsistencies. I didn't move the beans around as much as I should have, and some of them got pretty burnt. So we're basically, honestly, it smells very close to Folgers. So I've already brewed 1 cup of it. Wasn't the greatest, but it was drinkable. So I'm excited to see what batch 2 will be like. I roasted it immediately after batch 1, and maybe I was just more vigorous in my moving of the beans, but it looks better. It smells slightly better, so we'll see if batch 2 will be good. But for right now, we're still reviewing batch 1. So we're gonna do a Chemex pour over today and see if maybe that somehow extracts any better flavors than the French press did. Now, for those of you who don't know what a Chemex is, I'll explain. The Chemex is this one's a small one. It is their 3-cup version. But as you can see, it's kind of got the hourglass shape. The larger ones have more of a rounded bottom to it. And what you do is you use a gooseneck kettle for precision to pour over the beans that you have in there. You use the filter to hold the grinds back, so that way the water flows through the beans and the filter, and then the coffee is extracted from the coffee beans and goes into the bottom part of the Chemex carafe. Now, there's a thing called brew ratios, and the ratio is just that, a number to another number. So in this instance, when you're brewing coffee, your ratio is coffee beans to water. So you're going to use X amount of coffee beans to X amount of water. So when you have, say, 10 grams of coffee beans, if you want a 1-to-1 ratio, you do 10 grams of water. If you want a 1-to-10 ratio, you do 100 grams of water. My personal preference is about a 1-to-16, so 1 gram of coffee per 16 grams of water. But to each their own. Then if you're doing a pour over, so the method of pouring water over the beans and letting it filter through, I find you typically stick in that 1-to-15 to 1-to-17 ratio. That's just personal preference. That's what I found, but each their own. So look at that baby. Yeah. So I'll go ahead and show you batch 3. I think this is batch 2. Batch 3 was similar in roast to batch 1. As you can see, there are some very burnt beans in there. One side looks normal and the other side is charred black. So it was very smoky, not very good. But you know, that's the process of like learning to roast and figuring out what works and what doesn't work. Batch number 2, as you can kind of see, looks closer to like a normal bag of whole bean coffee, closer to like a light roast. We can actually, for example, check out some 1/8 roast beans for comparison. These are the Jet Setter. See, take a look at that. Nice, even roast. Beans look pretty good on both sides. That's what I'm aiming to go for. Something like that. So fun fact, after talking about brew ratios, who didn't do the math? This guy. So I ended up tasting it, and the first note, I was like, good Lord, what have I done? So I ran the math. I took the 249 grams of water and I divided that by the grams of coffee that I had in there, which was 19 grams. And that was a brew ratio of about 1 to 13, which is way stronger than I normally drink my coffee. Because I mentioned I like it around that 1 to 16 for a pour over. So I was missing about 50 grams of water. So I've been slowly sipping the coffee and adding water in it to dilute it to get it closer to the extraction that I like. That's basically how you make an Americano. Espresso shots diluted with hot water. Honestly, it's like, I wish I would have been doing the math beforehand. Fun fact, when you are brewing coffee, you have under extraction and over extraction. And it's each their own, their preferences. But when you're extracting the coffee, so you're trying to get as much out of there, under extraction gives you typically sour tastes. And sour tastes tend to be fleeting notes, a little sharp, a little aggressive, and then fade away. Bitter notes, when you're over extracting, tend to be ones that creep up. They dry out your mouth a little. They linger. This one isn't drying out my mouth, but I am getting those sharp notes, and things kind of settle a little bit. So now as I'm processing it and thinking I did under extract. Unfortunate, but oh well. We all live and we all learn. This is the real rising. Is the real reason. This, people, is why you learn math, is so that you do the math and then do the thing. It's like, it's passable, but it's like drinking coffee from a diner, kind of like Waffle House, where you know you're not going there for the good coffee, you're going there because someone's fighting somebody. And you're just there to spectate the fight. So I hope I get better at roasting coffee, and hopefully batch 2 will be better. I almost feel like I should drink batch 3 first before batch 2 so I don't get my hopes up and then dash them once again. The bad batch. Batch 1 really sets the bar low, so I can only get better.